Bake with us, Canada. This week's bakers are MP Mike Morrice and Dawn Gill. And this week's recipes are for granola and chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome to a delicious and informative edition of Baking for Change. I'm your host, Wendy Pauls, and I have two guest bakers with me today. We have Member of Parliament Mike Morrice, and we have Dawn Gill. Dawn, remind me of your title.
Community Office Manager.
Community Office Manager. So we're going to bake today, and we're going to learn and talk about some things. You guys good at multitasking?
It sounds like a regular.
It's what you do.
It's a big part of it.
So this is going to be great. So before we share with our bakers at home what we're going to be making today, take a couple minutes to tell us what you're working on right now, what some of the important issues are. Your work in Ottawa and so on. We're really excited to have you here.
Well, thanks so much for having me again. And so yeah, as the MP for Kitchener Centre, my role is really around taking the concerns from our community and bringing those concerns to Ottawa to have change made on those. And so for our community, you can't talk long without talking about the housing crisis. And I don't think there's anyone in our community who's fully buffered from the reality of how drastically house prices and rents have increased, along with the number of folks who are living unsheltered and living rough in our community. It's a really difficult time for many, and it doesn't have to be this way. This is a crisis that is defining our community, that is 3 decades in the making, and that we spend a lot of our time focused on proposing solutions. It's my view that we should have more people in Ottawa who are there trying to figure out how to work together to make progress for their communities rather than score political points for their political parties.
Sure.
And my sense is when it comes to housing, there's not many communities across the country who aren't also feeling it. Some might be feeling it more than others, and I think our community's feeling it even more so than most. But it's something that I find colleagues of mine can agree on. We might disagree on what to do and how quickly to do it, but there's a real shared interest in making progress, along with addressing poverty in our community. The list goes on, but I think that's a place to start.
Oh, that's great. No, that's really, really great. And actually, once we get into our recipe, there is usually time when we're mixing and things like that to chat further. So please feel free. We want to hear more about these things. Okay, yes, please walk us through the process.
Okay, so of course we start with some rolled oats. So we've got 3 cups of rolled oats. In this bowl, I mentioned we have to do all the dry ingredients first. So with the rolled oats, we're going to do whole wheat flour. So you just...
And how much is that?
Right. 3 tablespoons of whole wheat flour goes in with the oats. And it's been nicely measured already by Dawn.
Nice. Thank you, Dawn.
That's
great.
It feels so much more slick than when I do this at home. I'm in the
Less
midst
mess.
of all the... So we've got the oats and the whole wheat flour. And then the rest is really, you can get creative if you're a more confident baker than I am. The standard recipe that I've always gone with is some pumpkin seeds. I think we've got a cup of pumpkin seeds, roasted pumpkin seeds.
So good, high in protein.
Yes.
Yeah, this is it too. I think if you can start your morning and feel a little bit, like you don't have to have a snack at 10 o'clock or whatever the case. There's a few things in here that I think are, they keep me
Really
going through the morning. So there's the pumpkin seeds, sliced almonds. I think it's a cup again of the same. So we pop those in there.
So I'm excited about this because this is different than my recipe. So
And that's it about granola too. I think when you get comfortable with it, then you start kind of...
You can adapt it.
and you can get creative on all the rest. The last one is coconut. So we've got, how much? Again, a cup. So simple. 1 cup unsweetened coconut. That goes in there too.
I love coconut.
It gives you some good flavors. So you give that a bit of a mix. We're going to mix it up later again anyway, but you want it to look okay too as you go. So there's, I think that's all the dry.
That's all the dry. I'm just double checking.
Toss that together nicely. Okay, that's all of our dry stuff. So we've got already measured out about a 1/4 cup of honey. We're going to pop in a 1/4 cup of maple syrup on top to get a 1/2 cup of the both. Look how we do. Look at that.
Ooh,
okay, nice.
It's
This
like we planned this.
This is all working out better than at home. This is great. This is great. So it doesn't really matter though. You can do a 1/2 cup of maple syrup straight. You can do a 1/2 cup of honey. It might be a little bit I guess kind of chunkier with the honey,
Mm-hmm.
but we're gonna pour all that in.
Oh, it's looking good.
Well, come on, that's just... Next is, you can do either olive or coconut oil. My recommendation is you heat up the coconut oil, and so Dawn's already done that. So we've got a third of a cup, and it's just a bit easier if the coconut oil isn't very hard, I guess, for the mixing in afterwards. So we're just pouring in.
Great.
So I have to laugh. I felt a little bit like the surgery theater. Here you go, doctor.
Yeah.
We're making progress along the way here. So this is all of the wet ingredients. Now there's just a few spices to add in, and we're gonna put it in with the olive oil and the honey and maple syrup. So we've got 1 teaspoon of, let's do the almond extract maybe.
Yep.
So there's the almond extract. Measure out 1 teaspoon-ish. There it is.
I like ish. See?
Yeah, yeah.
And then ish.
If it overflows a little, you can't give yourself
Bigger.
too much of a hard time, eh? Plus, that's really good stuff. It's yummy.
Yeah.
So then 1 more teaspoon of nutmeg and 1 of cinnamon. We've measured these out already. We knew this was coming. So this is the cinnamon, I
Yes.
believe. We're pumping in there.
Mm-hmm.
Brown spice 1.
Great. Now this is the nutmeg. Another teaspoon of nutmeg.
That's
And
gonna be great. I usually just put a dash. That's gonna be.
there's a reason why it's my
flavorful.
Oh, it's
go-to
gonna be
recipe.
really
I think
good.
it tastes okay.
You can smell it.
And then we're just gonna put in a little bit of clove powder. Some days I don't have this at home, and you can do without it, and it's
So
fine.
it's optional.
It's totally optional. This is like the fancy stuff. It's fine. They're a little dash.
It always
I love
smells
that.
so good.
I love that.
And the salt, we brought a bit of salt. That's fine. Another variation: if the pumpkin seeds are salted at the grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
I've just bought the salted pumpkin seeds, and I figure for the best, maybe there's enough salt. We don't need that much more salt in our diets anyhow. So anyway, there it is. There's a dash.
There's a little dash.
Okay,
That's awesome.
now, John, do you want to bring over that whisk? We're going to try to whisk this all together. Perfect.
I can take
Pass
that,
that
doctor.
back to Okay, so we're going to bring this all together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if we got it in the shot
I was
at
gonna
all.
say for the home bakers, it's looking
Yes.
nice, aromatic.
Mm-hmm. I know. We
Mixture
always
here.
say we should have smell-o-vision.
I would tune in every
Right?
day.
Me too. If you could actually like smell what's being cooked. Oh my goodness.
I guess the other nice thing about cooking in groups is there's much more affirmation than I usually get at home.
Aw.
Right?
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got all of our ingredients here. Now all we gotta do is we're gonna toss it all together. So we've got the 1 bowl of the
You
wet
ready for this one?
ingredients. You got it, please.
See, here we are working together. Collaboration.
Everybody's excited about the end product, I think.
Exactly.
That's the real goal. Okay,
Should I trade?
if I don't mind trading you, I'll toss you the
I'll
whisk.
give you that.
Spatula just makes sure we get out all the goodness. Try to make sure we use up everything.
I am the same.
Yeah. Get all that good stuff in there.
Okay.
Oh, I should say home bakers. I believe the stove or your oven should be on at 275. So
Yes.
that's a heads up.
Yes. Get that oven preheating so that you're
I
ready to eat with us.
Well, I find if you're baking, my sense is turning the oven on around this time gives me enough time that when I'm ready, so we're tossing it all together now. If you turn the oven on around this time, you've got a few minutes to finish, because I want to make sure that everything's tossed together nicely, that all the dry ingredients and it's all just pretty consistent, I guess. And then it takes a bit of time. We're gonna get a baking sheet out, and we're gonna make sure that it's nicely even on the baking sheet. I've got one of these ovens at home that doesn't seem to cook very evenly.
Okay.
And I'm probably not the only one.
Sounds like you need a new oven.
Well, like I said, if you were less of a hobbyist and more of a pro, you'd have a better oven than I do at home. But for those of you who might be in the same position, I find if I can make sure things are mixed pretty evenly and it's on the pan pretty evenly, then I'm at least giving myself the best chance of getting a pretty even bake, I guess.
So we've got everything all mixed together. And what do we do now?
Pretty even. Now we're gonna take everything that's mixed together and just put it on a baking sheet. And
Easy peasy.
that's the hope. What we wanted to do here is just
And you
use-
don't need to put anything on the pan. It's just fine to go straight on.
Yes, and my sense is because there's already olive oil and coconut oil in the
Oh,
mixture,
okay. Yep.
that that really helps. You'll see we'll do a bit of mixing around. Once it's in the oven, I have found it's helpful to kind of not just let it sit there, and I go back in and mix a little bit as we go, and that helps also.
Even it out.
That's it. So we've got
And how long are we putting it in the oven for?
So I find the recipe that I received said an hour.
Oh wow, okay.
I put it in for an hour though, and it was way too crispy for me. So there must be some preference here. What I find is I put it in for 10 minutes at a time. And this might be my oven, so your ovens might be fancier than mine. But after 10 minutes, it needs a bit of mixing about. And I find between 3 to 4 of those mixes, so 30 to 40 minutes total, is plenty of time.
Great.
And by that point, I'm getting a few sections that might look a little bit crispier. And that tells me, and then the other sections that are less crispy, at least they're not, like they're cooked somewhat.
So our granola is in the oven, and we've been checking it. I say we, as if I've been part of the process, but you know, I'm overseeing everything.
Which has been helpful, actually.
Yes. Very good. But we've been checking it about every 10 minutes, giving it a little stir just to make sure everything's cooking evenly. But we're going to bring another delicious recipe to you today. I want to point out that we have a new person taking lead on this project. I think there's another parallel here. This is called empowerment. You have like empowered her to take on an important job here.
One, recognizing the skills where they are.
Exactly. There's so many life lessons in baking. Who knew?
Well,
we know here today.
Homemakers, let's go.
Let's go. What are we doing here?
Okay, so the recipe that we have today is killer chocolate chip cookies. And I got excited because I think butter tastes like love. So I got half a cup of butter. You can use margarine if you have that at home. So I'm starting that in one big bowl. Hopefully you can see that.
Take that for me. I can
Thank you. A sous chef or something. And so the butter I had is slightly softened. Be careful if you do it in the microwave because you don't want it to melt. But that's why some people use margarine or just prepare your butter ahead of time so it's the soft when you're ready.
Always good tips on this show.
Yes, okay. And so now a half a cup of white sugar. Okay, I'm just adding that onto the butter. And so this is where the sweetness comes in.
Kind of an important part.
Yes,
of a
yes,
cookie.
yes.
Yeah.
And so now we have a half a cup of brown sugar as well. So now I've got butter, white sugar, and brown sugar.
Goodie Goodie is a non-profit bakery offering training and jobs for refugee youth.
Hi, it's Stephen at Goodie Goodie, and that was Wendy Pauls, the host of the Baking for Change show. We're getting ready to launch our first ever pop-up bakery, and we could really use your help. We want to earn our way, not just accept donations. So 100% of the profit from our bakery sales and 100% of your donation goes towards paying our young refugee staff. Everyone at Goodie Goodie is a volunteer, and we don't pay for things like rent or advertising, so our administration costs are almost zero, which makes us a pretty good choice when deciding who you want to support. There's a donation link right on our website, as well as in the description section of this video. And the more you donate, the more refugee kids we can bring into our program. For more information, visit goodiegoodie.ca.
Thank goodness it's Friday, because that's the day Goodie Goodie Pop-Up Bakery is open. Goodie Goodie is a non-profit bakery providing training and jobs for refugee youth. Delicate French petit fours, giant New York-style cookies and chocolate from Peace by Chocolate in Nova Scotia. And 100% of the profit goes to support their young refugee staff. Every Friday from 10 to 3 at Community Christian Reformed Church, 1275 Bleams Road, right at Fischer-Hallman in Kitchener.
Okay, now mix 1 egg in and vanilla and hot water.
Okay.
And so I'm going to do the egg, and I'm going to do what my mother-in-law always taught me. So
Yes.
she was an egg farmer, and she never cracked the egg. Like she always put it in a bowl or something else.
Do you need a bowl?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I like to do that too, so you don't get shells in your.
You got it.
Yeah.
Not just a hobbyist baker
No,
anymore
see?
here. We've upgraded.
Well, everyone's different with things. Some
I
crack
love
on the
that.
bowl, some crack on the counter. I'm a counter cracker, so that's what I did. And so I just pressed my thumb in the little button I made, and we have an egg. All right.
Take that from me.
Thank you. Thank you
Look
very
at that.
much.
Servant leadership.
All right. I'll
Sure,
grab
yeah,
this
heck
guy
yes.
here. Thank you.
Okay.
That's the best kind of leadership.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So egg is going in the creamed, they call it sometimes, creamed butter
Mhm.
and sugar. So I've got the egg. And something that I thought was interesting is in addition to 1 teaspoon of vanilla, so I'm gonna break a rule I have. Usually I don't measure over the bowl, because if I oversplash, it's like, depends on what it is.
That's true.
If it's salt,
Some
I don't
things it
do.
matters more than
Yeah.
something else.
Whoa, okay. That's 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Thanks, Mike.
Take both from me.
And now, this is, I'm gonna call it the secret ingredient, because I've never done this before. 1 tablespoon of hot water.
Yeah.
And again,
I don't think I've ever put hot water in a cookie recipe. This is interesting.
This is all I've ever done.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, am I gonna cook the egg? Is that what's happening here?
Oh no, it just gets it nice and maybe
Okay.
even a bit easier to mix it. Can I grab this from you?
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm
All
mixing
right,
in
we're
that
just mixing
egg,
this together.
vanilla, hot water. And so now, it's looking like the beginnings of cookie dough.
It is. We're getting there. Mhm.
All right.
It's amazing that my stomach has been quiet so far. Sometimes it starts, speaking up.
Okay, well, I'm speaking up with you, so we're having a chorus over here about these cookies. So, for home bakers,
Looking
it's
good.
looking like a slurry of
Yeah.
sweetness.
Yes.
All right, and now stir in the dry ingredients.
All right. I'll move that out of the way
Oh.
for you. You're going to put the dry in here first.
Yes, let's do
and
that.
Put them together.
All right, so we have 1.5 cups of flour.
Pre-measured again.
Yes.
See?
And then
Mm.
half a teaspoon salt. This is just fun to do.
Mhm.
I always wondered how they do it. That's how they do it. You prepare. All right, and then
Another
we have-
life lesson.
Yes,
Preparation.
that's right. That's right. Preparing and then for sharing. Preparing for sharing.
Don, I'm gonna step away to check on the granola.
Okie dokie. So for those that do not have smell-o-vision, we're smelling cinnamon and nutmeg and cloves.
Yes, we are. It
Okay.
smells really good.
Yes. All right, so now I'm mixing the dry ingredients. They're all sort of incorporated together. And so home bakers, most people don't have 2 ovens. We do not. Actually, we do. But for those at home, the granola is on at 275, but the cookies are on at 350. So just take note if you were attempting both. All right, so I've got the wet ingredients. I'm going to add the dry ingredients. I'm going to mix those together.
We're getting closer and closer.
So I think I mentioned that the recipe, the name that I was given was Killer Cookies. And I think this is the line why it has earned this name. Chocolate chip cookies need chocolate chips. And it says, add as many chocolate chips as you like.
How's that for quantity? Maybe don't
Okay.
let the kids make it on their own, right?
Right.
3 bags of chocolate chips.
Well, yes. It would have to be a different recipe.
It would have to
like
be maybe a
a
little bit
chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm almost there.
Yeah. That's looking very cookie dough-ish.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and well, I think as many chocolate chips as you like, because I filled this container. So we're going to add
And they're
them.
milk chocolate, aren't they?
Yes, they
Yeah.
are. So I'm
This
excited.
is the most important part here.
Okay, so is this
Mhm, it
looking
is.
like what you do at home?
I just give it a bit of an eye for what looks.
Okay.
That's a good. Start mixing a little bit
Okay.
there.
All right, so we've got our dough all made. We're ready to get it on the cookie sheet.
Oh, I'm excited. So
All right.
for those that love a measurement, we added as many chocolate chips as we like, which in our case was 1/2 cup. All right, so
That seems like a good amount. I'm seeing each. You got.
I'm gonna add some more if needed.
That's true.
But it looks
If a piece
good.
doesn't look like it has enough, yeah,
Exactly,
we'll
you
throw a
can-
few more in.
All right, so this is not a tablespoon. This is just a spoon from a kitchen, but I've put dough on the end and let's call it a heaping tablespoon for the size. Some people might drop a cookie, which is just drop it off the spoon. I'm going to just do a little...
More like a meatball.
Yes,
Love
that's exactly it, Wendy. Do you have a favorite cookie, Wendy?
I do love monster cookies. Yeah,
I do too.
with the oatmeal and the peanut butter and like M&Ms and
Okay. We'll have to
should
talk later.
You get a recipe for that?
yeah, yes.
That's interesting. I made monster cookies at Christmas, but we did caramel and marshmallows and scorbits.
Oh, sounds
Kind of.
delicious. Yeah.
And decadent.
So we have killer cookies, we have monster cookies. All of these like dark names for cookies.
Don't be afraid. We're very friendly here.
Only the cookies are dangerous.
Yes. All right.
They look good.
So these are going to be definitely for sharing.
We're gonna get at least a dozen. That's my guess.
Oh yeah.
Anyways.
Now, can the two of you typically resist trying any of the raw dough? Are you?
Well, that's part of the fun, isn't it? That's what makes me feel like a kid.
Uh-huh.
Well, no.
Just
You gotta have some level of professionalism here. But that's like
You do get into it. What about you? Do you get into
I am
it?
definitely a cookie dough eater for sure. Someone told me though that everyone's like, oh no, the raw egg, but it's actually raw flour that we should be worried about.
Oh,
So go and Google that, home bakers, because
more
that's what I
things.
learned.
yeah.
That said, I'm still standing here and I eat the raw flour as well.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So,
I guess the quantity maybe. Maybe don't eat a whole
Yeah,
bowl of cookie dough.
okay. I like that. I'm going with Wendy's logic here.
Everything in moderation.
Everything in
Yes.
moderation.
Okay, so I'm not counting, but I'm going to say we're going to get a dozen cookies on this pan.
I think so.
Yep.
These are going to be, okay, killer cookies. I think these are actually going to be the monster cookies, just saying. All right, so
And we're ready to
That's-
pop those in.
we got it.
So we've now got our cookies in the oven. They don't take very long, and we've still got our granola in. We're checking on it regularly. But I've been curious to know, when you were a kid, did you want to be a politician when you grew up? Like, when did this desire kick in?
It's not one of those fields that most would say, I want to be a politician. I think that's partly what, like in our culture, I think, we don't think highly of politicians. Even to this day, when I speak with friends and family, I consider myself a community advocate, an elected leader. But no, I had no intention. When I came out of university, I was concerned with the climate crisis, started a nonprofit to work with businesses to take action on the climate crisis. And so it wasn't until a decade later, and the best analogy I've got is it felt like I was shoveling snow off the sidewalk.
Yep.
You're making a little bit of progress and you're feeling good, and then the snowplow comes by.
I can relate to that.
And you think, well, what the heck? All the progress I just made, and whether it's government decisions at the time. One of them was buying a pipeline after just affirming we were in a climate emergency. Whether it was around a lack of investments in housing. In so many of these cases, I just felt like the frontline work and the organizing I'd been a part of, we weren't going to go fast enough. If we weren't shifting the way governments, provincial and federal, are making those choices. And so it felt like a bit of an existential sense of calling. And I think that's the most important thing, because I think for any of us, whenever we take on something difficult, the only reason one will push through those hard days, and I had plenty of those. I'm healthy now, but I was diagnosed with stage 1 testicular cancer in the first campaign I ran in 2019. But I remember when I got the diagnosis, there was no question about whether I was going to continue in this or not, because for me, it doesn't matter how many days I've got left, this is where I want to put my time.
Wow.
And so I think that's the real...
You're passionate about it.
Well, yeah, what a gift when any of us at any stage in our life can identify that sense of calling and be in a privileged enough position to be able to put things to the side to follow that calling. And that might be around starting a family, it might be starting a new job, whatever the case. For me, it very much was that. And I feel now, having been elected 4 years after originally running, what a gift! Like, I feel wired for it, and so that's
amazing.
Well, when you get a chance to look back and say, okay, we we amended the bill that's going to make sure that that benefit we talked about earlier for people with disabilities, it's going to be indexed to inflation federally, because our team brought forward an amendment and we secured support for that amendment.
Yeah.
You look back and think, okay, for all the partisan noise, well, it feels worth it when you can get a win like that.
Yeah.
And what else could I be putting my time towards? And so I think for young people who are concerned about any number of different issues, I do think seeking elected office is something that should be considered as one of many ways to consider how we can address some of the real systemic issues that our community faces.
Yeah. Sounds like the progress is rewarding.
Very much so. Not that it's, it's not all rainbows and butterflies.
No.
But certainly rewarding and a real gift to get to do it. We should probably check on that granola.
We got to check on the granola. So we've got both of our things out of the oven. We have our homemade granola and our killer cookies. Thank you for sharing these amazing recipes and for doing such a good job.
Well, I'm pretty proud that it came out okay. There was no fire alarm. That feels like a win. And I feel like we've been able to inherit some good recipes from friends over the years to share with folks. And
That's amazing. Before we dig in, which people know is my favorite part of the show, I say it every week, the tasting part,
course.
Right? It's all the hard work pays off. Before we do that, I want to take a moment to say thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dawn, for taking time out of your busy, important schedules to not just bake with us, but also share some really important information about what's going on in our community, in our country. And I sincerely appreciate you carving out the time.
Well, big thanks to you, Dawn, for doing all the prep in advance of getting us here. And really appreciate, Wendy, the invite to be a part of this. I love the blend between having a chance to talk about things that matter and bringing food into it. Truthfully, it's one of those moments for me. I never thought I'd be on a baking show. So
and here you are.
And look, we did it.
I know.
I really enjoy to get to do it with you.
So we like to taste together. So here, let's start with our main course and then dessert. What do you think?
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we've got our spoons. Everybody dig in here. Before you do, we'll do a little cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's see how we did. I can't talk.
Need some milk.
Very good.
Love the maple syrup.
And it can fill you up. I like that.
I'm gonna make that.
Well, you could even take it home.
Even better. Well, it sounds like you need some to sustain you. And now we're gonna switcheroo and please join me. We gotta
Well,
test
this is
out.
the easy one.
Yes.
Please.
Oh, they all look good. I'm gonna try this one on the top here.
Thank you.
Oh.
Here we go, friends. Perfecto.
Crunch. Oh, the bottom.
We were wondering,
Soft in the middle, crunchy on the outside.
as we took it out of the oven, it was around 11 minutes or so, I think. We were wondering, it looks, you know what, just right.
Yeah.
Still
As long as it's golden brown on the outside, we're good to go.
You rocked it.
And still chewy. Well, this was all you done. It was great.
You rocked it.
Thanks for watching, and see you next time on Baking for Change. Special thanks to Wendy Pauls and Mike Morris and Dawn Gill, Red Path Sugar, Danby Appliances, and Community Christian Reformed Church.